Greetings everyone, and welcome back to another installment in the iWish series. A series in which I investigate rather dubious tech products sold on various sites around the web just to see if they're any good. Most of the time they're not, but I like to buy this stuff so you don't have to. And in today's one, I'm looking at a little game console, which the last one I looked at was the GAMEMT E6 thing, which I'll link up there if you haven't seen it. If you want to watch it, it's up to you. But they've released a newer version of that which has Wi-Fi and all that sort of cool stuff. We know that console runs Android, and I tried breaking into it and I still had no luck. I'm on a quest to find the perfect handheld game console that I can play Pokemon Puzzle Challenge on, because the perfect way for me at the moment is using my GBA SP and playing Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, which is right here. It's one of my favorite games for the Game Boy Color. Every time I've got one of these handheld emulation systems, the D-pad just always sucks. Like the Power Kitty that I looked at, the GAMEMT, all them just don't have a good D-pad. So I'm really looking for a good D-pad. And we came across what we're looking at today on one of my live streams that I did a couple of weeks back. You folks were really interested in taking a look at this thing, and I'm honestly intrigued to see what this console can do. So a massive thank you to all these folks displayed on screen for donating towards seeing this product reviewed on the channel. I really do appreciate you all, and give me money to buy cheapo products for your entertainment. You will get a kick out of this, and I love doing this. It's so much fun at the end of the day, so I really hope you're all going to enjoy this one. Because yeah, we were just interested in seeing this thing, because I don't know if it's plastic or if it's made of metal. So there's a lot of questions I have about this console. Before I continue on, two disclaimers. Number one, because this has a bunch of ROMs on it, I won't put any links or anything in the description. Most of the games that I will be playing on this I actually own physical copies of. I guess I'm saying that for legality purposes, I guess, because ROMs are illegal and Nintendo hunts you down with a pitchfork if you play anything of theirs illegally. And the second one is timestamps are in the description, as well as the pinned comment, so you can skip along to wherever you need to be. What we're taking a look at today is called the new A390 handheld game console, 4-inch IPS high-definition screen, 12 emulators, GameMax, system retro gameplay of 5,000 games, and currently at $67.41 Australian, with free shipping from AliExpress. So I'll display SMOOREZ jank currency conversion chart on screen, so you get a rough idea of how much this game console costs around the world, and this is before tax, so you'll have to add that on accordingly. Which I think for the money, there's a couple of Anbernic consoles, Power Kitty ones, Miyoo, as well as the Datafrog SF2000, which is a really good handheld for only like 25 bucks. There's a bunch of other ones out there that are probably way better than this, but the look of it just looks kind of tacky but kind of interesting at the same time, because that D-pad, I don't know if it's a plastic D-pad or if it's a rubber D-pad, it's just weird. And in the description for the GameMax A390, it's got a 4-inch HD IPS screen. The display effect is very clear, bringing exciting gaming experience and better eye protection. Rotate the rocker 360 degrees, massive games to play, double rocker design, better game control experience. In other words, it has two analog sticks. Support Bluetooth compatible handle, 4 controllers at the same time, 64 gig TF card, built in more than 5,000 games, that's all your ROMs there, built in 12 simulators, support a variety of game types, digital multi-platform device can play on TV, colors black and blue, battery capacity is 2500 mAh, it has HDMI, micro SD card slot, 4 inches HD IPS 800 by 480, memory optional, 64 gig contains 5,000 different games. Emulators for PSP, PS1, MAME, N64, GBA, Super Famicom, Famicom, Mega Drive, Game Boy Color, Capcom System 1 and 2, and Neo Geo, supporting users to download relevant formats of games themselves. And the package includes the console, 64 gig micro SD card, Type-C cable, user manual, and drawstring bag. And I guess I can quickly show you some advertising from the listing, like the 4-inch HD IPS display, wider perspective and clearer game picture, take care of your eyes. It's not wrong, take care of your eyes. 4K HD TV connection, play the game, cool to fly, ultra high speed transmission, no delay in the picture, no cat on, refuse to tear the picture, playing games can be so silky. What? I've been reading these listings for way too long and I still don't understand what they say. Rotatable double 3D rocker, breakthrough control design, make the game console more suitable for palm, wrist and finger control, because dual analog sticks is a brand new thing. It hasn't been around since like 1996, but okie dokie. Dual front speakers, dual channel surround is placed at the center of the current scene, volume can be increased in the game, enjoy a more thrilling and dynamic range of stunning sound. I reckon there'll be tin cans, but we'll see. Simultaneous access of wireless controllers. 4 wireless controllers can be connected simultaneously, team up with multiple players with strong strength, let players experience the joy of multiplayer battles. I'm pretty sure I didn't get any controllers with this. High pressure polymer battery, built-in 2500 mAh, removable polymer battery, lasts 3 hours. Removable? Okay. 2500 mAh with 3+ hours of battery life. I'll test it and see how much I get out of this. Alright, that's all the advertising and all that sort of stuff. So let's go ahead and unbox this thing and see if it's metal or plastic, because that's the burning question I've got. We'll just stab into it and off we go. And there is our game console. So you know, I like this little knife that I got. It was only $3 on AliExpress. It's really cool. See? Sharp. Whoa, the box looks cool. That is the weirdest font I have ever seen. That's a cool box, not gonna lie. That is probably one of the coolest boxes I've seen for a cheaper product in a long while. Product specifications for the GAMEMAX we've already been over, and nothing else really around the box apart from built-in 12 simulators, 4-inch HD screen, support multiplayer HDMI, rotate the rocker 360 degrees, TF card expansion, and then on the back is support OTG wireless connection, support 4 wireless handles, 4-inch IPS HD, 360 degree rotatable rocker, better game control experience, all of the buttons and ports on it, a couple of warning stuff, not suitable for children under 3 years, long cord strangulation hazard. Okie dokie. I think there's supposed to be a barcode there, but that did make it there. Let's open console up. So we've got, oh my god, the most generic micro SD card in the world, 64 gig. Yes, it is. And then we have a quality certificate, yes. Then we get a instruction manual, which is probably not in English. No, it is in English. Major function. Okay, there we go. The CPU, Rock Chip RK3128 quad core, 8 gigs of internal storage. The LCD doesn't say the RAM though, 2500 milliamp hours. The other side's just Chinese, so we'll just pretend we didn't see that. We do get a drawstring bag that they said. That's kind of cool. You can put it in there, and it's branded GAMEMAX. Then we have a Type A to Type C USB cable in this, and that is it. Oh, don't forget the quality certificate. Quality certificate. Oh, that's good. Taking the GAMEMAX out. Oh, it's plastic. Oh my god, that D-pad is horrific. Oh my god, it's plastic. How can I describe this D-pad? It's like pushing a sponge into another sponge that has a bit of wood underneath it. Yeah, that's pretty accurate, to be fairly honest. Both analog sticks there, they feel pretty meh. The buttons, I mean, the face buttons there, they don't seem too bad. They've got the 2 speaker grills just there, GAMEMAX and start button, select button, L1, R1, L2, R2, on button, Type C USB, HDMI, reset button. And then we have 2 more speaker grills, maybe, there. On the back, it's also called the Campaign A390, not the GAMEMAX. Then we have another grill down there, and then, oh, the volume keys are down the bottom. That's a bit strange. Where's the micro SD card slot? Oh, just here. So we can take the screen protector off. That sounded painful. I'll grab out micro SD card. This is what's on the micro SD card, by the way. I'm pretty sure that this would be a 64 gig micro SD card that's included with this. I just thought I'd show you all the code just in case you want to check it up. Let's test out the GAMEMAX A390 and see what it can do. Is it a welcome? Games power. Okay. Oh. It's got snail loading. Okay. Just agree with it. Is it Android though? I wonder if it's Android. Come on, buddy, you can do it. Choosing a snail was the right decision. If they put anything else there, we wouldn't get that far. Yeah, it's Android. Oh, cool. Oh, there we go. It's in Chinese. Oh boy. Well, that's fun. What does L1 do? Oh, that's a favorite. Select. Nope. Uh-oh. Help. Ah, okay, we have a games menu. Okay, I'm gonna need Google Translate because I can't read it. They didn't tell me it was gonna all be in Chinese. That's not helpful at all. Continue the game, restart, crotch position. Okay, that's what it says. Save state, loading status, hand control, exit the game. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at the instruction manual to see how does one change the language. That's the same bloke on the Game MT, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was. We go settings down there. Yeah, there we go, English. I did it. I found it. I was gonna reboot. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we've got Capcom System 1 and 2, Famicom, GBA, Game Boy Color, Mayhem, Mega Drive, Super Famicom, Neo Geo, N64, PS1, PSP, and Gamebox. What's Gamebox? So like downloadable games? Favorites? I'm not sure. God, that sound is annoying though. Can I switch it off possibly? So the brightness, I can bump all the way up. It's not a bad display. 800 by 480 seems about right with this. Supposedly we're in 2015. Themes. Oh, we got themes. Theme 1. Ooh, space. More space. Ooh, cyber thing. I like space. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Automatic screen lock, system information. That's about it. Okay, let's try and get into Android. Okay, so let's connect the mouse up. Oh, did I break it? So can I do anything at this point in time? No, I can't. I'm going to need a keyboard. Now, what can we do? Aha! I need a USB hub. Uh-oh. Oh, there's a password, hey? You cheeky bastards. Okay. Aha! What if I just close that? And then close this? And close that? What happens? Did I break it? We gotta get to the launcher on this. There has to be a way. I know in the game MT thing, you could boot into like safe mode and it would boot without the launcher. Okay, so we've got Android recovery there, which doesn't tell me too much, so I'll just power it off. Using a keyboard at the moment, I can't seem to do anything apart from just Alt-Tab, but we'll see if I can do anything else. I'll just hold volume down, see if that works. The fact that there's a password though, that you have to type in a password, I don't want to do that. I just want to break into it. So that's not safe mode either, I don't think. So what if I hold volume up and down at the same time and try it? What if this does something? Oh, it just boots me to recovery. What if you pull out the micro SD card while it's on? What if that does something? And then you put the micro SD card back in. It might pop up with something. I have a chainsaw. Take that, demon. Bro, something has to work. Apart from screenshots. I don't want to open my whole new world. I want to open the thing. I'm going to try and power it on, like holding select or something, just to see if that works. I'm convinced I'm going to do this, but I just don't know how. By the way, I bought GTA Advance off AliExpress. It's fake. I've been wanting Grand Theft Auto for my collection, because I've got like every release of GTA, I think. That was one I was missing. Even though it's fake, it doesn't matter, I still got it. I'll hold select and power. Also, the console is getting pretty warm, but it's rock chip, so, you know. That kind of explains it there. I'm just thinking there's got to be some sort of like a shortcut to boot into safe mode. And I tried Googling to see if anyone else had potentially hacked this. And it doesn't seem like it. Because look, you know, they're just... there, and then... You know, something. I got an idea. What if I was to just factory reset it? Yeah, what if I was to factory reset it from recovery? What would happen if I do that? Will I break it? Should we try it just to see what happens? What's the worst that can happen, right? This is risky business right here. But let's just see if that worked. Because there's no way that recovery would delete everything on it. The system that's on here should have all the emulators and stuff set up. Let's just see if I've broken it or if I haven't broken it. Well, it still says loading with the little snail there, so I assume that things are okay. Still. Maybe. Possibly. I can't believe the thing's made of plastic. I was hoping it would be metal. I was hoping the D-pad would be better than spongy sponge. Why do I feel like this is going to be like the Android pen that I looked at? Spending 6 hours trying to break into the thing? I don't want to spend 6 hours doing it with this. Come on, it's got to do something. Well, it's just loading, okay? We're at the loading screen. Did that work? Does it do anything? Aha! Oh boy. Well, I'm in Android. I'm in Android. Yay. Okay. Oh, there's Wi-Fi. No way there's Wi-Fi. Oh my god, there's Wi-Fi. No way there's Wi-Fi. No, there's no Wi-Fi. I think it's just leftover settings. Let's change the language, which I think is this one. And I think it's this one. It's not that one. I think it's this one. Nope, that's not it. So what's it actually running on this? About tablet. Android 6.0.1, so I'll be able to dump the system files. Memory is 1 gig, battery, approximately 26 minutes left. That's good. The good news is that I'm in Android. The bad news is I might have potentially kind of broken it, maybe? If I open up GameMax, I'll reboot to GameMax system. Explorer, internal memory, it's all it there. APK installer, you'll need to grant access to read internal, yeah, okay, that's fine. Allow, permission is allowed, thank you very much. Well, I guess we'll just reboot back into, that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I mean, I could potentially install my own APKs on here. Because it's Android, I could put Dreamcast and PSP and all that sort of stuff on here and test it as it is. That way, instead of using the onboard stuff, then I can just potentially use this. I also forgot that I can hold the reset button too. That could have helped boot into safe mode. Okay, maybe I didn't break it. Come on, buddy. Bring it back. I want it to boot up with the GameMax stuff. Wait, maybe the APK's on here for the thingamajiggy. Maybe it is. That should be it. Hang on, we gotta find it. Gamebox. Hang on. SD card, Gamebox. There has to be an APK on here. All I can do is go to reboot to GameMax system, I press OK and it doesn't do anything. But I can still test this. So what I'll do is install a whole bunch of emulators on this, because that way I'll be able to set custom aspect ratios and all that sort of stuff, and then we can test this out. It would have been cool to do this review with the software that originally came with this, but I feel I can do a lot more that it's just basically stock Android right here. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll come back and test this thing out. Alright, you've just witnessed the 6-minute montage of me trying to break into Android and then breaking this console to boot into Android, but without the launcher on top of it. I searched and searched to find the launcher that was originally on this, and I couldn't find anything. So ultimately what I've done is installed a whole bunch of stuff myself, which is what I said I'd do, and test the console out as it is, because I don't know what emulators were in that launcher. So at least this way, I've got most emulators that should work considering the hardware on this. So I've installed DeviceInfoHW, so I'll check that. EPSXE, FreeDoom, which unfortunately doesn't work. GAMEMAX, which still doesn't work. GBA emulator, Game Boy Color emulator, M64 Plus FZ, Mega Drive emulator, a music player, so we can test the speakers, navigation bar, which you can barely see, but that's why I have this mouse handy, we'll get to that soon. NES emulator, PSP emulator, RetroArch, I'll also talk about that soon, and finally, SNES Droid. Now before I show you the emulation, I've had plenty of time to test this console out. The analog sticks on this are actually fake, and by fake, I mean that this analog stick is just essentially the D-pad, and this analog stick is the face buttons there. So that presents real problems if you wanted to play a PSP or a PlayStation 1 game that actually uses the right analog stick. It's not going to work because those analog sticks are mapped to the face buttons and the D-pad. And in emulators, if you go to the controller setup and let's just say you press up on the right analog stick, it'll come up as Y being pressed. Now while testing this out, I can safely say the controls are absolutely garbage on this. I'll say it's usable, but that D-pad is just horrific. And also, I found myself in games as well, if I'm pressing A and then I go to press start or something like that, my thumb goes right over the right analog stick, pressing the face buttons, because that's mapped to the face buttons. So look, if I exit, there you go. So that's a problem there. When I was playing PlayStation 1, I kept on doing this to press start, because I thought the start button was up here, but no, it's down there. I don't know why it's down there, but it is, so I had to try and get used to that. There appears to only be one speaker in this, as far as I can tell at this point in time. I also can't connect this to my PC, because I'm going to try and dump the system files. So I went down to About Tablet, went to build number, and I can't enable develop options. So I can't enable USB debugging, and connecting this to my PC doesn't recognize it, so I can't do much there. And the battery on this as well, I'd say you get 2 hours out of this. But I played a couple of games with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for an hour, and that drained the battery life from almost 100%, I think it was at 95 or something, to 46%. And then I've charged it back up, which was fairly slow charging it back up, but it's at 93% now. Why I've had to use a mouse is because I've needed to use this for on-the-go support, which, as you've seen, it does work with a keyboard and mouse, so that's all good. But needing the mouse is useful if I need to go back from an application because I don't have a touchscreen. I have to just do that to go back. So you kind of got to leave the mouse connected in order to use this. Now, while each emulator that I've installed is probably not the best, they're just the ones that were recommended to put on this, so that's what I've done, and I've obviously had to sideload them on. I did try GTA 3 as well, couldn't control that because the buttons weren't recognized, and plus the analog sticks wouldn't work. Let's start from DeviceInfoHW and just make our way through. So this does come up as the Rockchip A380, but this is the A390, so it's probably the same as the A380, but they've done something else to it. 480 by 800, 6.0.1, there's no accelerometer or anything like that in this. 1 gig of RAM, 4 gig of flash memory. The system on chip being the RK3128, which is a quad core with the Mali 400MP GPU. System pretty much just shows Rockchip, Marshmallow, all the good stuff. The screen, 480 by 800 with a refresh rate of 57.7 Hz. Memory, 1 gig and 4 gig. Cameras, obviously nothing. Battery, says 6700 milliamp hours, but 2500 milliamp hours seems a lot better. Thermal, just says 18 degrees there. Sensors, it says we've got all these sensors, but none of these work. That's the specs there, but I'll be tearing this down to take a look inside of it. Let me show you what FreeDoom does. Oh, it crashes. I'll try it again. There we go. And if I go into Gamepad, I can set everything else but movement, because if I was to do forward and back, it's telling me to move the stick. I move the stick, it doesn't work. So I can't play Doom on this. It boots up, and it seems to run fine, but I just can't control it. That is a bit unfortunate there, and I had to install the navigation bar so I can do this. And RetroArch as well. I did find a guide online that said to flush something on this to get RetroArch actually working, but as it is right now, while I can go through everything, I can't click on anything. Nothing works, and I can't even use the mouse to actually click on anything in RetroArch. So RetroArch does not work, because I was going to ultimately just use this and play everything through this, as it would have been much easier, but unfortunately that doesn't work. So I had to abandon that idea and just install every single emulator that I need to test on this. So let's start testing emulation out on this. And I'm going to start with PlayStation 1 first, which I've set everything up, all the controls and BIOS and all that. So I'm going to show you what Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 looks like on this. And also, you'll have to press the reset button in order to bring up a menu in most of the emulators to then change additional settings here and there. So this is what Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 looks like. I was able to complete Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 about 3 times in order to test battery life, and it's fairly good. was going to say fairly responsive, but it runs fairly well. There is some slowdown here and there with this. I'm going to bail. Damn it. The D-pad feels horrific. You've just got to push it down with so much force. It just ultimately was better to just use the analog stick. To better understand the right analog stick, do you see what I mean? So like, they're just the face buttons mapped, which is really not that helpful. If they were true analog sticks, you could have done a lot more, especially with mapping buttons for like N64 as well. Unfortunately, it is what it is. There could have been something on the original software that maybe done something, but I doubt it. I'll quickly show you something else. So driver on PlayStation 1 looks a little something like this. Whee! Runs fine. Runs no problem. There are some slowdowns here and there that I did notice while playing this, but altogether though, it runs fairly well. So PlayStation 1 is not a problem on this. It's not perfect by any means, but it definitely runs about 90% good for this. That's PS1 on this. I think you get a good idea with PS1. So let's try some other consoles. Game Boy Advance is where things get a little bit strange. So I'm going to just play Doom, as I've tested on other consoles before. Everything looks good so far. Now what I'm about to show you could just be down to this emulator, possibly, but I'm not too sure. If I push the analog stick forward, there is a lot of input lag. I'll do that again. Just push up. And then if I press right, do you see what I mean? You can't control it because it's like this. Let me try something else. Try Crash Bandicoot. This is fine. So just something to do with Doom. Obviously just wasn't agreeing with this. Yeah, this is running pretty much 100%. Sound emulation sounds a little bit crunchy. That could be just me though. In that regards, Game Boy Advance is fine. Doom just wasn't agreeing with the system, which is understandable because this system is pretty cheap and I've just thrown random emulators on here and it is what it is. I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. Also, I'm using the analog stick as well because the D-pad's just useless. I'm sorry, but I can't say anything good about this D-pad. It just feels horrific. I can't exit at the moment, so I got to use the mouse to exit. It's fine, don't worry. Now, Game Boy Color. I will only show you Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, because this is the one game that I test on Game Boy Color. This is the D-pad test. And let me just say that D-pad, it's not responsive at all. It just flies on its own. It just goes wee. If I use the analog stick, I could potentially work it, but that sort of defeats the purpose of it. I'm looking specifically for a good D-pad with emulators, and this is far from a good D-pad. Going back to it, I just can't do combos or anything because it's just the amount of force that I'm having to put on this D-pad is just ridiculous. Game Boy Color's fine, which of course we all knew was going to run fine anyways, and most folks who did buy this probably could get away with using the controls, but I'm really picky when it comes to D-pads. And I think honestly most people would probably feel how bad that D-pad is and go, yeah, that's not really good for classic games, especially for games that need quick button pressing. This D-pad is just not for it. Next up, I'm going to show you N64, which was actually quite surprising. However, it comes back to the controls. I couldn't use the analog sticks to map the C buttons or anything like that, so I have L and R not assigned, but A and B is L and R. The C buttons are X, Y, A, B. Start is start, Z is R2. It's all over the place. Not that you can see it, but let me just put the brightness all the way up with Doom 64. Oh, that didn't really work at all, did it? Can you sort of see it now? Nope. You can't really see it. Why does Doom 64 have to be so dark? Doom 64 does run fairly well on this, but let me try something that's a lot more brighter so you can actually see what's going on. I'll try Super Smash Bros. On this. The sound emulation's definitely not there. Yeah, that's almost there. I mean, it works. It's not 100% full speed. You probably need to do frame skips and stuff like that to get this better working. I'm glad to see that N64 does kind of work. The sound is bad though, and I won. It does speed up from time to time, but for the most part, you'll hear the sound just chugging along, and the game not quite running at full speed. But N64 does work on this. I could be using the wrong emulator, and likely a Core in RetroArch would be a lot better than what I'm using, but it gives you an idea that this is capable for N64, but it won't run at 100%. I mean, N64 is really iffy to emulate anyways. Next up, we have Mega Drive, or Genesis, and of course, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, right here. Genesis emulation, or Mega Drive emulation, is a bit hit or miss with some consoles. Mostly the graphics are fine, like gameplay, but in terms of the sound, sometimes that lacks, but I found that this is actually 100%. I'm no good at Sonic. I've barely played Sonic the Hedgehog. I just hold right and just go along with it. It's fine. I've played the first level of this and it seems good. There are some slowdowns, like tiny itty bitty ones that you'll see here and there. But altogether though, Genesis emulation is pretty good. It's almost there. Not perfect, but it's pretty good. And I also have to say as well, that the screen on this is not bad at all. While it's only 480p, it's pretty fair for what it is. So next, we'll do NES, which, of course, Super Mario Brothers. You can't test NES without Super Mario Brothers. NES, NES, same thing. Good news is that it runs full speed emulation. This is with an old emulator, of course, but this runs not a problem. I mean, this console is on Android 6.0.1, so it's quite outdated, but that means it's compatible with a lot of older emulators. NES is good on this. If it wasn't good on this, then something would have been seriously wrong. Oh, fireworks. Nice. I'm going to run SNES first. I've played Doom and Donkey Kong Country. I'll show you what Doom looks like on this. Doom uses the Super FX chip, which can be a bit problematic with some emulators, including this one. It's depressing Doom. However, it runs. You could potentially play Doom on this. At about 5 frames a second. But it runs. That's the good thing, it runs. But as I said, Super FX chip, can't expect too much. So I'm going to load Donkey Kong Country. And I tried SNES 9X on this, but it just crashed. So I'm not too sure what the issue with that is. I also tried Dreamcast as well on this, and that crashed too. But I thought it was worth a shot. I was going to try like Atari 2600 and Atari Lynx and stuff, but I think they would be fine. I just wanted to try the more sort of intensive stuff, like PSP, PlayStation 1, N64 and stuff. SNES though, once again, does run, but it's a bit choppy. Could be down to the emulator though, but the emulation is there, and I think the hardware is more than enough to play SNES, but the sound is pretty choppy, and it's not running at full speed. But it looks good though. That's the main thing, it looks good. You would have to probably tweak the settings a little bit if you wanted to play this properly, but the sound is just chugging along there. If you could get RetroArch on this, potentially you could get a better core working and a bit more performance. But if you're doing what I'm doing, you'll probably see what you're seeing right now is the game running, but just not at full speed. Another thing that I've also noticed during testing is how warm this console gets. It just heats up very, very quickly. The whole entire back just heats up. So I definitely want to check to see what the cooling's like when I tear it down. I also tried Lemoroid, I think it's called. Lemoroid? That was just scanning for games forever. I tried Super MD as well. That didn't install. I tried a whole bunch of different things to test on this. So what we're left with is PSP. Without the analog stick being there, that's going to cause us some issues. But let me show you how it runs anyways. We have a whole bunch of games, and I'm going to choose Burnout Legends, because it's one of my favorite games as well. I got a lot of favorite games, but Burnout Legends is fun. PSP, it runs kind of. It's there. Let's see if I can get at least one takedown. Hey! Oh, it's fast. Ah, there we go. Yeah. So I've just popped the settings down ever so slightly. I know what the black square is. What's that? Oh, that's the sun. Okay. Just ignore that then. But yeah, look, it's playable. Not going to be the fastest, but with this being $67, I'm pretty sure you can find secondhand PSPs for like $50. And you'd be able to play a whole bunch of emulators on that, a whole bunch of PSP games, instead of trying to run it on this thing. Road Rage is fun. Really great way to de-stress. with Burnout Legends. Just play Road Rage, it's fun. Just smash enemies into the wall. The one big criticism about this is the controls straight away. Whenever you map the D-pad, the analog stick is part of that. Whenever you map any of the face buttons, that's part of it. Once again, the D-pad is just absolutely horrific for what it is. Honestly, with the price of this being $67, I don't think it's worth it. I think there's Miyoo ones out there and Anbernic consoles, like I said at the beginning of the video, that are going to outperform this. There's no point buying this no-name, well, GameMax A390 thing and expecting it to run everything. For a couple more dollars, pick up an Anbernic Power Kitty Miyoo and you'll have a much better time. For the same amount of money, I got the Anbernic RG Nano, which while it is ridiculously small, this plays everything at full speed. While the D-pad isn't the best on this, it's definitely playable, but this is essentially the same price as this. Yes, I can see the advantages from the GameMax, you know, bigger screen and all that sort of stuff. And while I'm only comparing it to just one console, I can safely say that Anbernic have some decent consoles out there. Same with Miyoo as well. I haven't tried Miyoo stuff. From what I've seen, they have some pretty good stuff for around the $70 mark or so. I'm not really up to date with emulation handhelds and stuff. I'm still trying to get familiar with what consoles are out there. For this, essentially, it's just a cheap Android handheld that has a launcher on it with all the emulators on there, and you can't really change much settings, but if you get rid of the launcher and just use it as standard Android, you get more functionality out of it, but it is quite limited due to the buttons, battery life in this, just lacking, and the build quality of this is also fair. I mean, being all plastic, it still felt okay to hold it and play games on and stuff. But all up though, I'm going to say this console is definitely not something you want to go with. If you want it for fun and to tinker around with straight up Android and install whatever you want on it, fair, it could be something fun. Buying this, getting it out of the box, and playing everything as it is would be better for a lot of people, but I still think you'd get a lot more performance from other consoles rather than this thing. So I hope that conclusion made sense. I think you got a good idea with what I'm trying to say in this video. There's one more thing I want to test on this, and that's the speaker test that I've just closed. And I just googled music player APK, and this was the first thing that popped up. Let's test BFG Division, and then we'll tear this down. If we bump it all the way up, it's only one speaker. I'm pretty sure of it anyways. Here it is. Fairly loud though. Bump down a little bit, and it's actually quite reasonable. Even though the sound emulation wasn't exactly perfect with some of the emulators, the speaker on this is actually not too bad for what it is. But they did promise dual loudspeakers in this, but I think they've just put one. It sounds like it, so the only way I'm going to find out is to tear it down. So how do we take this apart then? I assume that it just pops open? So I'm going to remove these little silver bits to unearth some screws. Taking those 4 screws out should give us access to the internals. And we're going to have to unsnap a bunch of snaps. I think they've put screws underneath the screen. Yep, there's more screws underneath the screen. And surprisingly, it looks like there is 2 speakers in here. I'll try it again once this cover's taken off. Okay. Now I can finally take the back off. And there it is. So there is the battery, just soldered straight to the motherboard. And the battery just there says 2,500 milliamp hours. 5 screws hold down the motherboard. And once they've been taken off, we should be able to just lift it off. Which, there we have our internals. Ah, I see what's happened. Those 2 wires, they're not connected. We should fix that. Let's see if I fixed it. I'm likely going to be returning this anyways, but I just want to know if I've got dual speakers or not. Yep, they work now. So that was just a manufacturing defect, which is interesting. So what we're left with is just what's on the motherboard. And we've got the Rock chip, RK3128. We've got our 1GB of DDR3 just there, alongside our 4GB eMMC. There's not a whole lot to really look at on the motherboard, to be fairly honest. There's no cooling for the processor. I mean, apart from the back of the LCD, that's about it. And also the travel distance for the buttons as well is quite a lot, so that's why they feel extremely spongy. Yeah, it's just interesting to see that we do have dual speakers, but one of them wasn't soldered in properly, and now it is. so it's fixed. Otherwise, that's pretty much all with this, really. There's not much else to look at, so I think I'll go ahead and put it back together. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. That's much better. So I just had a defective unit from the start. That's not helpful. But yeah, see how my screen's flipped that way? I can't fix that, so I have to switch it off and switch back on. But that's the teardown for this. Honestly, not that interesting inside of this, but it was worth it to have a look and see if there was anything. I think I'll just clean this LCD, make sure it's all nice before I stick it back down, and I think we'll call this one a video, I think. I forgot to mention, the front is also glass as well. Probably the only premium component on it. That is the Campaign A390 GameMax thing reviewed. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope I've covered everything that I needed to cover within this video, because it wasn't just your standard handheld game console test, it was breaking into Android and doing all sorts of other stuff. You folks were ultimately curious to see what this thing could do, and I didn't know there was a bunch of reviews already out for it. I thought this was a brand new product, but it's been out for a couple of months. This video wouldn't have been possible without the generous donations from the folks displayed on screen, so thank you all so much for what you do, as always, donating your hard-earned money towards me looking at cheapo stuff for your entertainment. I really do appreciate you all, and you'll have to let me know what you thought of this one down in the comments below. If you think it was a letdown, which I think it was a bit of a letdown, or if you thought it was okay for what it is. If you're still listening to me waffle on, that means you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. But if you had to use timestamps, that is all good. That's why they're there, and it's going to be a whole bunch of chapters through this one because it's just a bit hectic. Also, the logo's over there because of the mouse, the cables hitting it and stuff, so it was just easier to put it there. I can put it back there if you'd like. There you go. But yeah, that's the second item from the AliExpress lot. The third item is the Surface clone, and yeah, as I said, I've bought it twice and I've been refunded both times within 10 minutes. So I can purchase it again and see what happens, but I don't think we're going to see it, but I'll give it a shot and see what happens. Let me know what you think of these console reviews from me, because I think they're pretty terrible. I think they're all over the place. Even though I've done a bunch of game console reviews before, I just feel that they're just not as good as phone reviews, but I don't know. Feel free to let me know. Thank you all so much for watching this latest installment in the iWish series. As always, please take care, stay safe, be good people, and I'll see you all in the next one, which will be likely the ZTE Z60 Ultra review thing, because I really want to show you all the beast. It's powerful. Until the next one, take it easy, keep being awesome. I'll see you soon. Bye. If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.